John Byrne.
He pulls up in like this giant SUV that Jack Bauer would be proud of.
John Byrne.
Stacks and stacks. Always look under the table.
John Byrne.
I don't know. I wasn't there. It was so loud. I almost crashed my vehicle.
I'm back now.
This will be cool. We're looking forward to the Albany Comic-Con. I probably shouldn't even bother saying this because it's just a waste of time. And then they're eating the blooming onions. Don't let any get on you. She probably was a Robbie Liefeld character.
Tell her, you know what? I don't think you're cosplaying. I think it's you in real life.
Anyway, all that aside, I'm still looking forward to it. I think it's always interesting.
She was shot. She was shot. That one.
You think she was?
Oh, she was shot.
Have you ever heard of Thomas Dolby?
She blinded me with science.
A little bit later, he released on a later album, Airhead. And so that would be that girl's song.
Oh, absolutely.
It was ill-fated from the start.
If you are a D and you marry a D, then your kid will be D.
What's our coupon code?
Our coupon code is Sheehan is dead. That's Sheehan is dead.
Okay.
Sheehan is dead. Right.
And does the capitalization matter, or is it all lowercase, or what about that?
No, it doesn't matter. Organicpricebooks.com. Save yourself $2. And just think, that's half a tank of gas. Oh, no, that's a half a gallon of gas. That's a half a gallon of gas.
That's a half a tank of gas, dude.
You get like 5 miles on $2. Just think, save yourself that $2 for an extra 5 miles.
Well,
Organic Price Books.
Okay. Well, the other thing that you could do with $2, okay, if a half a gallon of gas doesn't really sound exciting to you, the other thing you could do is you could go to East Greenbush and go to Out of Print Comics, and you could probably find 2 comics that you would enjoy because he's got a ton of $1 comics there. I keep telling myself when I go there, I have to remember to count how many boxes he's got out. I get there and I'm just like, and I just start digging, and then it's like I'm lost.
You know what? That is one thing. You have not experienced the joy or the amazement, I must say, unless you go to a Comic-Con with Scott, watch him dig. It's a good time. I mean, he's on his hands and easy thing. And it's like,
always look under the table. Remember
that bozo at the New York Comic-Con?
Yeah.
Like, someone's going to steal this comic.
If you were a bad actor, just be like, oh, these are mine. Just went in my pile. This whole room is my pile.
Oh, yeah. Whatever I want today, I will take.
But anyway, I'm looking forward to doing that in a couple of weeks. We're hoping Chewy shows up again.
Be like, notice Scott and his Uncle Chewy.
So I finished this past week. There really wasn't anything that was super interesting. The journalism is fine. You know, the research is good enough. It's good. If you are familiar to an extent, you don't need to read this book because there's nothing more to it. So, you know, it's not anything revelatory by any means. This was kind of like at the end of his span. He mentioned Cheryl Rhodes, and that was somebody who Robbie talked about at one point. At the end of the deal, when the $3 million Heroes Reborn thing was falling apart, and so the people who had concocted that deal with him and Bill, or rather Jim Lee, were on the outs. I forgot the name of the main VP, but then the CEO.
Yes.
And then the VP was Cheryl Rhodes, and Robbie's like, Cheryl Rhodes, and they were kind of like seemingly somewhat nefarious. But he's mentioned here, through the mouth of his business partner, former Marvel VP Cheryl Rhodes, he has quietly announced a plot to create a Stan Lee movie studio in China. He even helped JC, that's the daughter, craft a lawsuit against the company that owned his rights at this point, announced in the summer of 2019. He alleges the corporation is not true to the owner of those true owner of those lucrative trademarks. It's actually not beyond the realm that Paul's dream may come true. So anyway, just passing on that one. There was good words for Jim Shooter. When Stan died, Jim was devastated. he said about 30 friends of mine sent emails and called me and stuff for the next several days. All I did was do little interviews and tributes and things and get calls all the time. The intimidatingly tall former Marvel editor-in-chief tells me, his broad back bent forward like a tilting rock formation. So that was nice to see there was positive words about Jim. I thought that was kind of cool. And then the last thing that I noted here at the end too was about Neil Adams. It says POW, that was one of his last companies that Stan was in. It says if POW or POW was failing to pick up the ball and most of Stan's friends felt powerless, the same couldn't be said for a small handful of Stan's colleagues and admirers. In the spring of 2018, Manhattan-based writer-artist Neil Adams, Stan's old sparring partner in the Academy of Comic Book Art days, concluded that enough was enough. Whatever his differences with Stan over the years, he loved the man and couldn't bear to see him mistreated. We only hoped, those of us out there, that the aggravation didn't institute the potential for Stan's death. Adams says of that chaos that was being reported, those of us who were on the outside who couldn't interfere directly, it was difficult for us to reach out to him. We knew that some of the people out there were not good, and we knew that the police officers were briefly looking at this as a domestic matter that they would basically brush aside. So sad story for sure. Here's a historical random comic moment. In February of 2018, I just happened to randomly, well, I shouldn't say randomly. What I found was random, but what I was doing was not random. I checked Craigslist ads with some regularity because you just never know. And maybe it happens once a year, give or take. There's something that's really good. So like the majority of the time there isn't, but how much effort does it take? And when you find something good, isn't it worth it? So I checked the Craigslist ad, and there was a dude that had, I don't remember how he worded it now because we're closing in on 5 years since it happened, but he gave a description that was tantalizing about a collection that he was selling for $325 or $350. And he had just posted it. I had looked, maybe yesterday, and it wasn't there. And then I got up in the morning, I came into the office with my coffee and I checked again, and suddenly it was there. And there was only one photograph too. And I could kind of tell that there probably was going to be more photographs, but he just hadn't gotten them up yet. And it was just like one picture, as I recall, of a short box, a Secret Wars short box that was in it. But his description was about all these trade paperbacks and omnibuses, and there was like some sweet stuff there. And so I immediately texted or got on the phone or whatever it was, and was like, yeah, the chances of getting this are going to be fairly nil because it sounds like a really sweet deal. But as it turned out, he had just posted it. I got, it was like kind of like one of those deals when people post and they're kind of like excited about it within the next hour, and they're kind of like watching. And I got to him within that window. And so we made an appointment to go up to the Colony Center. It's a mall here locally where we are, in the parking lot. And he's like, you can buy these. And I ended up agreeing. We agreed to a price. We haggled on the price of $275. And he was happy with that. I was happy with it. So I went up and I met him. And on March 1st, in my inventory system, it shows that. And he pulls up in like this giant SUV that Jack Bauer would be proud of. It was like a Tahoe or a Yukon, or boom, this giant vehicle. And he hops out, nice guy, and he flips open the back deck, and it's just like stacks and stacks and stacks of omnibuses and trade paperbacks.
Wow.
The short box that was in the picture, and a little bit of loose stuff too. And so it was just like super fun. So he was building this collection, and it was there was like and some of the stuff was still sealed. It hadn't been opened, kind of like you. He had he had like this super thick Shield omnibus, that was still sealed. All the hardcovers, well, I got a stack of small hardcovers, the smaller ones, but all the giant thick omnibuses, those are all sold. And I just was in the right place at the right time and happened to be the first guy to call him. I wish I knew who he was and I had his phone number, because it's been enough years now. I'd be like, dude, are you ready to sell again? Because
Yeah.
he was just like, he loved acquiring. I just get them wherever I can, because he had stuff that had like the thrift store
Right.
labels on it. He had stuff, how Excellent Adventure, unfortunately, just like puts the label, like he just like, boom, right here, $5, and it's written in marker. I hate that. And those
Give me
labels,
money.
the way those labels he uses too are like, this would be a label my grandmother would use because it's not going to come off for like 75 years. So this guy had comics from everywhere local in the Capital District region. There were some that had little tiny price tags like out of print uses, although I think this predates his store. And, he was just buying everything. That was a fun thing. And
Well, that's cool.
so
That's cool.
that was fun. I haven't had that. So it's going on 5 years. I need another one of those.
So you think he was the guy who would definitely pick up the dentist cut?
Yeah.
He's
No,
like,
I don't think he would go for that.
I need that. I need that.
Dennis alone was not enough.
Wow, because that's a big draw. That's a really big draw.
I know,
Yeah.
but you have to remember, you have to remember, you are a man of discerning tastes. You're forging ahead. You're soldiering on, dude. I got some Superman stuff here for you that you might dig. We'll start with this one, okay?
Oh my God!
Come on, there we
Oh
go.
my God, dude,
Is that a good one?
you totally. I literally almost had tears welling up. Genuinely, I remember that book.
Yeah,
I had that in my bag and board for years, and it was like, oh, it's a shiny metal cover. It's Superman coming back. He's kicking butt on the cyborg.
yeah,
That is like just when he that's like right toward the wrap up of the Reign of the Superman.
cool. So that was
Wow.
a good choice, eh?
Wow. Yeah, but the fact that you picked that up and just showed it to me randomly, that I feel like each time you do that, it really touches it touches this it really does touch a sweet spot inside my soul. Like that was awesome.
Jurgens and breeding. Does that make sense? On the
Mm-hmm.
cover,
Mm-hmm.
Jurgens and breeding,
Yes, absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
the foiling and
I
the way they embossed it is
I mean,
gorgeous. It's still kind of the old paper inside
is
too.
that was really mhm. I'm telling you, I had that as like, I remember I had it in like my high value like section of my collection, not even necessarily for money, just that it was just like so cool to me.
This is also 93, although the cover was drawn, makes sense, in the fall of 92. Do you know this one?
I don't,
Okay.
but
So the legacy of Superman, do you know anything about that?
I don't.
Okay. All right. So that was issue 1, Legacy of Superman. This was released in 1993. Doesn't say the month. It's a 64 pager. It's arty. That was the main
Artie,
reason that I got it, is because it's arty. And I thought,
Artie,
just on this
Artie.
early 90s jag that I'm on.
That's
Isn't
so
everything
cool.
isn't everything influenced by the X-Men?
Yeah, even your hair. You're like Wolverine.
He's done some bogus things, and
Yeah.
he's been, this is just like, this is all just about the cover. Most of these are just about the cover. I don't even care to read most of these. I just love the covers.
That's a Jim Lee, right?
Uh, Give it another shot.
For
If it's
real?
if it's not Jim, who do you think?
Uh it's super 90s. I swore it was Jim Lee. Oh,
Will's
okay.
Pistachio. Yeah, and that was the reason that I got it, because when I saw it, I'm like, oh man, it's beautiful. It's just a gorgeous cover. So this is 281. The signature is date stamp 1991. So this was probably either released in 91 or 92.
What is a bravura? It's a bravura. Why sit in the upper deck when you could sit in the front row? Him and Vigor. See, you and Willis, Robbie, you guys are working too much. You guys are working too much. I'm on the lines. Look at my X-Men coming, Robbie. Look at this. Oh yeah, look at that.
Just out of nowhere, he goes, "The Yellow Boys!" And it was so loud, I almost crashed my vehicle. It was just like, boom. I was like, whoa, dude, you just gave me heart failure. I wonder if Marvel didn't go bankrupt, if they had been able to survive, what's his name, Perlman. If Perlman had been able to finance all the stuff he had purchased, how it would have played out moving forward, because at that point Marvel owned their own distributorship. I wonder how that would have swayed the market moving forward. I think it could have been significant. Gimmick. Give me the gimmicks.
Gimmick.
Foil again. Foil.
Oh yeah, with Wolverine too. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
I know, right? How can you go
You
wrong?
know what? Know what it's like? The lenticular one, when they came out with the lenticular, and now mind you, this is 2007, 17. It was like, oh my God, we're doing lenticular again? We're doing lenticular again?
So
When's the
it was good
last
or
time
bad?
we
It was good or bad?
it was awesome. It was like,
Okay.
when was the last time we did a lenticular? You
Yeah.
know, it's like when McDonald's brings back the McRib and people go crazy. I don't know why, but whatever. It's like, oh my God, it's back. And
Yeah.
then to see a lenticular, and
Cool.
it's Doomsday Clock #1, and it's Rorschach's face. So when you like go like
Yeah. Yeah.
this, it
Yeah.
changes between his
Yeah.
face and like
Yeah.
the Wonder Woman symbol.
Super
It was
cool.
like I went absolutely crazy. I was beside myself. Beside myself.
Give me
Yeah,
20 of those.
I'm still beside myself. Give me 21. You want double cover, Bryce?
I'm
Got
good
it.
with that.
You got it. Oh, that one's got a nick on the corner. Who cares? It's lenticular.
And right now I own at least 3 X-Force issues #1, if not 4. And in July I had 0.
Rob would be so proud.
All right, I got one more gimmick mag here, and then we're done.
I don't know. Wait a minute. I don't know if my heart could take it.
What?
I don't know. Another gimmick cover. I might just melt.
So this one is going to go back. This one goes back earlier. This is a John Byrne, which is the
John Byrne.
Yeah, he didn't want me to come to his table.
He hates me.
He hates me.
So I had somebody else get it signed.
So this one was on his wall. This was on John's wall. He's got some CGCs up by his desk on the wall, but then he just like takes little sweet spot stuff and puts it up. So this was on the back, and I paid up for this one a little bit, not hugely, but more than. So this is a John Byrne Fantastic Four.
Oh wow, that's super cool.
So the things that I love about it, well, 3 things. 1, that it's Byrne. 2, that the cover was sideways, which I thought was, fun, because I hadn't ever seen a Byrne cover that way. And then maybe like the best part, or not. And the splash screen, actually, the opening sequences are sideways too. So that's kind of fun.
Look at the dullness of that paper. It's so beautiful.
Right?
It's so like nostalgic.
Robbie talks about that, about the sideways stuff. Looks like the whole book is sideways. It is. The whole book is sideways. Yep, it is. But here's the thing. Here was the clincher on that. It came with tattoos. Wear them for a day or two until they scrub off at your next bath. It was great. Sideways orientation, John Byrne, and free tattoos. How can you go wrong? This is when Sue Storm was still like a normal person, instead of trying to be like some weird,
She was a normal board.
Yeah, she wasn't trying to be like what's her name from Baywatch.
Oh, Pam Anderson.
Yeah, Kirby cover. Okay, when I was collecting and had saw earlier issues from when I was a kid, they would do this, and I kind of hated it. Do you remember in your time frame, do they ever blend a photographic image with the comic anymore? Does that ever happen anymore?
In what way do you mean?
Okay, so here's our case.
Oh.
So Kirby used
to
do that. Kirby would do that. Take the building is a photograph, and then the rest of it is a cartoon, right? Do they do that? Have you ever seen that and stuff that you bought on the?
I genuinely, I can't remember that. That's like Photoshop before Photoshop.
Maybe every 20 pages, maybe a little less than that. All of a sudden he'll just do like boom, that kind of a thing, and he'll have like a background that's. And this is just a photograph. This is just straight on photograph. and then they drew on it. But I'm looking at some of his stuff from that Fourth World Omnibus, and it looks like he cut stuff out and collaged it and then like Xeroxed it. So it's like it's a photograph, but it's fake. And then he draws on top of it. And so it's really interesting. So we're definitely in a future episode, not too far away, we're going to have an example or two of that. But as a kid, this super bugged me.
Cool.
It super bugged me. I think it's kind of fun to see it now because it's nostalgic, but it bothered me because I'm like, that looks dumb. And then this is the last thing I have here. A blast from the past. Okay, that's what we'll call this. A blast from the past. Okay. Oh, dude, this is so crazy. I don't know if you remember in one of our first episodes, I showed you that Strange Adventures, the man who lived forever, and on the cover he's stepping out of a time capsule, and he's like, oh no, I'm too late. It's a million years in the future, and I can't stop this from happening. This shows you DC like reissuing stories to try to fill pages. So this is the cover, and I remember being freaked out by that story as a kid because it was just like, and it's like this dude is drawing this monster that he doesn't think exists, that it's just a monster, and then it turns out that the monster is actually real. And so that whole concept just kind of like freaked me out, and it stuck.
Man, I love it. I love how muddy the picture, the color is. It's just
it's very flat, right? It's very flat. And I mean, there's just some great cells here. Come on, camera. All right, so on this page here, I really like that cell midway down where the guy's stepping out of the UFO. That struck me. I remember as a kid, for some reason, that just struck me. And I also thought it was interesting how they, because it's a flashback, I guess they're showing like the stuff that happened in the flashback is kind of like grayish, blackish, and the actual stuff that's occurring at that moment is in color. But so I found this and I got it because I'm like, oh, and he's like putting down the alien is like putting down this glue on it, on this road. He's pouring it out, and it's just like pouring perfectly onto the road, which is nice. I could have used that today when I was working on the roof. That stuff would just pour. But look at what the opener is. The same story from Strange Adventures.
Wow.
So the Strange Adventures was like 62 or 64, and this one is 1973. So they were recycling stuff to fill out these and I just love these. I just love these digest like Monster of the Week magazines.
Every month I got the triangle that showed the reign of the Superman through like Adventures of Superman, Man of Steel, and that's like what really hooked me as a comic book fan.
Okay.
So all that sweet reign of Superman is like just sugar on my soul, man. It's just it's awesome. Even though they're deep inside me, they're still there. Like they're still ready to be popped. Because when you show that to me, it really is like, oh my goodness.
That's exactly when I come across this kind of a thing.
I didn't even know it was there, that it was ready to be hit like that.
Right.
It's.
I can understand a little reticence to go back over like, do I want to revisit like the peak stuff? Because what if it isn't going to be peak?
What if a little bit sucks now?
Yeah. You're just like, oh man. What if it ends up being like watching Willow?
Like
what do you got?
I cracked this. This is my I cracked this a while ago. My Batman Nightfall Volume 1, because I have Volume 2 and 3.
Who's the artist? Who are we looking at here?
This is Kelly Jones.
Okay.
Kelly Jones. His stuff was really, I hated his stuff. No offense, Kelly. I hated his stuff when I was a teenager. I almost wrote I actually wrote a letter and I didn't mail it to DC Comics for their letters page and be like, I don't like his art. I remember having this comic, this cover with Black Mask.
Okay, so what year are we talking about here, roughly?
This one right here is October 92. This is leading into 93, 94 when Nightfall happened.
So you said you have the death and reign of Superman in an omnibus. Okay, cool.
It's the whole shebang.
How many issues did that end up encompassing? Is that like
It's a
Fat Boy.
yeah.
Fat Boy.
Okay.
Fat Boy on me.
It was the transition from the New Mutants. So they killed that book at issue 100. And so then New Mutants now became X-Force. And at this point, X-Men are dead, or well, they're X Factor. Xavier's mansion is just like blown away. It's just had been, and they had been living in the underground portion of it, and then they decided to leave because they felt like they were compromised because the bad guys knew where they were. He introduces Shatterstar. Two blades is not better than one blade when you're talking about a sword. It might look cool when you're drawing it in a comic book reality, but two blades is not. I mean, if you're trying to slice something with a sword, now you have twice as much friction and you're going to be half as effective. So it seems cool until you think about it. The dialogue is horrible.
And I made $1 million. I've been all over the world, okay, conventions. Not once have I been to the Albany Comic Con. Whatever Monday is after the 20th of October that week, we're going to have Uncanny Omar from Human Condition on. Omar, my man.
Have you gotten any closer to finding out who Sheehan is?
Well, we know who Sheehan was.
We do.
But I'm not Sheehan. Mm-hmm. You're not Sheehan. Is Darth Pillow Sheehan? Is Darth Pillow like Palpatine where he's playing both sides against the middle?
Oh, that's interesting. You never know. Cases of Sheehan-ism are rising. We're going into the fall.
yes, it is. COVID's going down, Sheehan's going up.
No medicine for that one.